The gentleman yields back. Mr. Swalwell.
Thank you. And first, to Ms. Underwood-Jacobs and Mr. Floyd, my condolences to you. Ms. Underwood-Jacobs, the Bay Area law enforcement community grieves with you. My younger brother was working just 2 blocks around the corner from where your brother was that night when he passed, and we grieve with you, and we'll work to try and find his killers. Mr. Floyd, we know a lot about what happened to your brother because of a citizen's video. But let's say we didn't have the video, just the report. And too often that's what we're left with. And in that report, a statement issued by the Minneapolis Police Department, they said that after Mr. Floyd got out, he physically resisted officers. You've watched that painful video. Did you ever see your brother resist officers?
David, you take the chair for a couple of minutes. Yeah, David.
Like, too emotional right now to just talk about a lot. I'd rather just have my attorney.
The officers, it also said the officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted he was suffering medical distress. Mr. Crump, did you ever see that? Other than the distress of an officer's knee on his neck, did you see what was described in the statement released by the Minneapolis Police Department?
No, sir, we did not. The video, we saw him face down in handcuffs.
It also said, at no time were weapons of any type used by anyone involved in this incident. Well, you had a highly trained and experienced police officer using his knee. You would agree that that knee, in that case, was a weapon. Is that right?
Absolutely. For 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
A weapon used for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And too often in our criminal justice system, the deck is stacked against persons of color because of statements that are falsely made in police statements and then put out to the public when there were no cameras, no public footage. And Ms. Gupta, do you believe that the Justice and Policing Act, by having a body camera requirement, an independent investigation into misconduct, and a national police misconduct registry could go a long way to make sure that we don't have more false statements?
I think the Justice and Policing Act contains several provisions that are really, really important to transforming the culture of policing in America, yes.
And I was consulting with an African-American member of my community last week at a church, and he told me something that you said, Mr. Floyd. It sounded identical. He said, I feel safe 2 times during the day. When I wake up in my own home, and when I come home from work to my own home. In between, I drive a nice car that I worked hard for, and people in my community think I stole it. I often see police officers pull up behind me and run my license plate and then drive off because they know I don't have any warrants. What was shocking about that statement was that was a police captain of one of our biggest law enforcement agencies in the Bay Area. If he doesn't feel safe as a police captain, how can people who don't have the resources that he has feel safe? But I want to talk about something else that you mentioned, Mr. Floyd, because we're here because individual tragedies and institutional tragedies continue to persist. And unless we do something now, they'll continue. You talked about the officers there not listening to your brother. On January 1, 2009, in Oakland, California, unarmed Oscar Grant laid on his stomach as an officer shot him in the back. And his last words before he died were, "You shot me. I have a 4-year-old daughter." On July 2014, Eric Gardner in a chokehold in Staten Island, gasping to say, "I can't breathe," before he died. No one on the scene heard him. And your brother, Mr. Floyd, on May 25, a police officer with his knee on his neck, as your brother said, "I can't breathe. I want my mama. I can't breathe." And the officers on that scene did not hear your brother. Because of this tragedy, the world is listening now. What do you want them to hear?
I want them to stop hiring corrupted police officers. I know it's no way to figure out who's good and who's bad, but we got to find a way, because your heart has to be big if you're an officer. You just can't use the badge to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. You're supposed to serve and you're supposed to protect. I didn't see anybody protecting and serving that day when my brother was on his front, on his chest, hands behind his back, pleading, please, please, I can't breathe. A grown man, 46 years of age, crying for his mom. Just hurt, just looking all the time. People try to show it to you, figuring it out. They lynched my brother. That was a modern day lynching in broad daylight. People was out there pleading, please, please, get off, he can't breathe, he can't breathe. People were video recording it. Nobody cared. Nobody. My brother, he lost his life before 8 minutes and 46 seconds. He went unconscious. His life was gone. They just dragged his body across that concrete, his lifeless body. Every day, I'm gonna have to live with that. My family's gonna have to live with that. His kids are gonna have to live with that. I just don't know. Right now, I'm happy that we are getting one step closer to justice, but for the time being, I still need time to grieve with my family because I haven't had that chance yet.
Thank you. The gentleman's time has
Yield back.
expired.